Thank you. Well, the increase in migrants coming to the U.S. through the Mexican border over the last year has created an unprecedented humanitarian crisis.
El Paso, Texas is a critical stop for thousands of migrants seeking asylum from Mexico and South and Central America. Monsignor Kevin Sullivan is the executive director of Catholic Charities for the Archdiocese of New York. He recently visited the border and joins us right now in our Good Day New York studios. First of all, thank you for joining us, Monsignor.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you were down there less than a week ago, Thursday and Friday of last week. First of all, what did you see in El Paso, and why did you go there?
I went there because we do have this unprecedented surge of migrants, most of whom are seeking asylum in the United States. And we experience hundreds of thousands of them in the New York area. But in the area by the border, they're experiencing millions in that area. And it's a very different experience. So I've been down to the border a number of times before, but I wanted to go down to hear from the people who were there, see some of the people who were there, because it's a very different experience. And if we're going to solve this problem, we have to do this as a nation. It can't be New York's problem. It can't be Texas's problem. All of us together have to understand it better so that we can come together to solve it.
So what did you learn?
Well, I learned that there's a lot of horrendous things going on. And I want to say very clearly, some of us who have been working with immigrants for a while, we just think the current system is broke. We need a more secure border. We need a secure border not to keep people out, but to have an orderly and generous way for them to come in, that it's not chaotic. Because when the border is so porous, unscrupulous people take advantage of people, whether it be coyotes or others. It's not good for immigrants that there's not an orderly way for people to come in. So what I learned is that there's a lot of bad things, and the way the people react is sometimes not their better nature. So what I learned was, in the Rio Grande now, they have that razor wire. You ever cut your finger with a paper?
Yeah.
But imagine you have wire which has razor blades on it. And that's in the river, so it's cutting people. I mean, it's like bleeding people. So there's a real humanitarian crisis, and that's what I learned, and we got to solve this as a nation ourselves.
So, you know, the mayor was supposed to go down last weekend, but they said it was very dangerous. You went down last weekend.
Right.
How dangerous was it?
Well, I did not feel danger when I was there. Now, my understanding is the mayor was going to go over into Mexico, and I don't know what was happening with the mayor, but it wasn't, I did not feel any danger that was there, but it is a very chaotic situation because people just are coming, and there's not an orderly way to do it. If there's an orderly way, we need immigrants. I mean, we all have looked at what's going on in China. China is suffering a problem because they're losing population. We should be glad that immigrants want to come here because we're a desirous country to be, but we need an orderly way to do it so that when people come in, they can be treated humanely, they can be integrated into our nation. And that's what I went down for, to learn how we can work together to make a better system for the nation and for the immigrants who need to come.
So, Monsignor, I know Catholic Charities really picks up the pieces for a lot of these families. And I know Catholic Charities is at a breaking point. I mean, you are stretched to the limit with trying to help people.
That's true.
What do we do?
What do we do? We do as much as we can. We can't do everything, but we stretch. And it's not only Catholic Charities, but it's New Yorkers. One of the things that people don't realize, that of the about 190,000 who have come, do you know that 34,000 kids are in our schools? So these were kids who were in the jungles last year. We're educating them. We're providing health care. Yes, it's a sacrifice. You mind me saying it's Holy Week? For those of us who are Christian and Catholics, when we reach out to our neighbors in need, it involves sacrifice. So we're sacrificing in New York. We're at the point where we're really being stretched, but we're going to do as much as we can. And we need to solve this as a nation.
You know, it's one of those things you talk about, we need to solve it as a nation. You know, we can get into the politics of it, and, you know, whether it's a federal issue and not helping the city and the state. This is going on here and other cities around the country. But it's also created a backlash with a lot of people. And we talk about being an immigrant nation, but a lot of people look at migrants as a monolith and have decided we don't want them in our communities, we don't want them here. You went there to bring back a message. What do you say to those people who are like, okay, look, we're being overrun right now, whether it's in the city or other parts of the country, and a lot of them look at them, and you see, the police incident at Times Square, and they said all of a sudden everybody's a criminal, and we don't want them here in the city. What do you say to those people? How do you respond to them?
I say to those people, listen, I understand legitimate fear, legitimate concern that people have. That's real. I'm not going to deny how people are feeling. We need a little bit of reality. Reality is that that's not the story. We hear things about an incident, and quite frankly, those who commit crimes shouldn't be allowed to stay. Let's just be real clear about that. But okay, so you take those few incidents that always get reported, and you put that next to the 34,000 kids who are learning in school, the people who are getting some health care, the people who are working, the people who, quite frankly, are delivering your food when you call whatever company you. So people are making it. Let me tell you one other thing. So about 190,000 people have entered the shelter system in New York City. There are now about 65,000 this week. Well, that means 100,000 of those who came are kind of figuring it out. They're moving forward, maybe not in the ideal way. So people are moving. So I say to those who have fears, they say, well, being over, okay, I get it. But let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the reality. Yeah, I get your fears. Somebody who commits a crime, we don't want them. A violent crime, no. But let's talk about the kids in school, the people getting health care, the people who are delivering your food. A lot of people are making it. So that's what I would say.
Monsignor, how can people help Catholic Charities?
Well, listen, we can help in a lot of ways by, first of all, trying to talk to one another about facts, that this is a humanitarian issue. And always, listen, Rosanna, Kurt, I'd lose my job if I didn't say you could contribute to us. So you can go to our website. We always need contributions that we can use for the migrants, because we are stretched and it is a sacrifice. But the most important thing, I think, is we talk civilly to our neighbors, especially those who have different opinions than us, so that we talk together as a community. That's what's critical, and we'll take the donations too.
Monsignor Kevin Sullivan, Executive Director of Catholic Charities of the Archdiocese of New York, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, and a blessed Holy Week and Easter to you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for trying to bring some balance to it. All right. Well, when we come back.